It is no surprise that my favorite category in this game is no pole storage. I mean, it has been pretty much since the existence of the category. It's a lot of runners' favorite category to play and probably to watch as well. But I still wanted to go into more detail about why it's my favorite category. And the easiest way to understand that is by explaining why the other categories are not my favorite category. So, I mean, there's a couple that we can kind of knock out straight away, like Cheap Ascent is literally just do the cheat codes and then beat Neptune. Like, you know what I mean? And then, Frogfish RTA. Well, a lot of the splits are just exactly what you can get in no pole storage. But, you don't get that satisfaction of beating Neptune. And you're not playing that much of the game in general. In a category like this, it encourages more, like, toxic-ass strats, like Ultimate and Truck Skip and all that. And, that just sucks. And the length is not good. I like categories that are... Well, I don't have, like, a... Basically, anything between, like, 50 minutes to, like, 70 minutes is, like, pretty much perfect. But obviously I'm happy with longer as well, or even a little shorter. It's just that no pause storage, that's one of the reasons I like it. For me, the length is, like, really fucking good. But now going in a bit more order, it's like... What about no major glitches? Because it has BBBH backwards, which is big, and it has Plank Sponge Ball, and if you know me, I like Plank Sponge Ball, and it doesn't have like that kind of weird, awkward thing that no pause storage has, where it's like, you get 40 tokens, and then, okay, well, now you just go into Neptune, like, literally as soon as possible. I do appreciate an NMG that, it isn't literally just unlock guitar, beat Neptune. It's unlock guitar, do stuff with guitar, and then beat Neptune, I do like that, and no major glitches is a harder category. I mean, it has 2 extra sandwich out of bounds, which is crazy, and it has 1 extra guest jumps. And it has a little more variety in the challenges as well. And because it's longer, you can make more mistakes, and it's still, like, fine because, because the run is longer, you're allowed to play further off the sub. The problem is that a lot of the tokens that are included in NMG that aren't in no pause storage don't really change the run that much. Okay, because here's the thing, right? Like, they're not, like, literally, like, auto-scrollers or anything like that. No skill, fucking, At the end of the day, like, there's a reason why we have, like, ring challenge ILs for the sliding and driving tab. Like, if everybody could get the exact same time as each other, then there'd be no reason for those ILs to exist, right? Even in the guitar challenges, you can cut the corners on, like, all the rings and save a few seconds, maybe, like, 3 seconds over somebody who's playing safe throughout, like, an entire, like, SCDA guitar challenge or whatever. But, like, obviously there isn't that much time to gain or lose relative to, like, the length of the challenges, for the guitar challenges. Like, I don't mind, like, Depression Guitar, but it's really easy. BBBH Guitar is, like, 2 minutes, which is, like, fine. Has some turns, stuff like that. SCDA Guitar is too fucking long, that one turn, especially when you're not paying attention. Like, it's not hard, but if you're just not paying attention, it can be easy to forget if you've already done the turn already, and it's just like, bruh. But yeah, essentially... So that's... Okay, so this category adds 9 tokens, and 3 of them already are just not really adding anything. And then we have the other ring challenges, which are, Sandwich Ring. It's fucking Sandwich Ring. And then... Guest Ring, which not only doesn't add much, but it also has Fake Ring, which is fucking annoying and toxic. It's like... because keep in mind as well, the Mindy skip has been solved. So, like, there's no longer, like, unless you just weren't counting your loads or you miscounted. So there's no, like, randomness to it anymore, really. with this is still the randomness, which, yeah, it's not very common, it's like 10%, but it's... Why ruin a perfectly good... Especially after, like, being on a good run, getting good guest jumps, and then you just get fucked for, effectively, for no reason, really. That's toxic, that's annoying, especially because it's fairly late in the run. So that's 5 of the 9 challenges, right? Well, actually... Yeah. And then the remaining 4 are... 2 extra sandwich driving tokens, because we already talked about, Ring. Plank Sponge Ball, and... Guest Macho. Here's the thing, right? I already get my fill of guest jumps from guest time. I don't really, like, need guest Macho. Like, it's already, like... Maybe I should play something in the background, but, like, it's already... like, done its job. I don't need to do it again. And that's the issue, right? Like, the issue in itself isn't like, oh, more sliding and driving. The issue is the repetition of the sliding and driving in instances where the objective is not any different. You're just doing the literal exact same thing again. You know, at least in, like, Hundo, for example, like, well, yeah, in Hundo, like, one of the 4 tokens is one of the, because, again, Ring is always, you know, but, like, one of the 3 tokens is guaranteed to be different because, or at least, like, a little different because of extras. Like, in something like NMG, where, like, there aren't even, like, extras to break it up, it's kind of, like, I don't know, like, well, sandwich driving is a much bigger issue, because fast sandwich out of bounds is toxic. I've been doing it for so fucking long, and it isn't any more consistent than, like, a couple weeks after learning it. There are days where it fails a lot, and there are days where it works a lot. And that is just how it is. It is one of those tricks where it's permanently, like, just kind of, like, not literally stuck, because, again, I said it varies, but where it kind of, like, I don't know, moves between, like, 50 to, like, 80% consistency, usually, like, 70-ish, and it's just always going to be stuck within that range. It's never gonna get better than that. There is inherent inconsistency to it. So, you know, in No Pause Storage, we used to do it twice, but now because of Rock Slide, we do it once. Which, you know, that's totally acceptable, because even doing it twice kind of fucking sucked. But doing fast sandwich out of bounds, like, once, that's great, right? 3 times 3. Like, what the fuck? 3 times in early game as well. Not even like, oh, well, you know, you have such a cushion from, like, earlier in the run, so, like, even if it doesn't go that well, because let's say, like, the exact same trick exists in Knucklehead, it's like, okay, well, it's not as bad, because you're, like, minus 20 going into Knucklehead, you don't even need a break. It's like, you don't have that mentality, it's fucking early game. Like, well, if it was in fucking Knucklehead, I don't even know if I'd be doing fast, honestly. Fast is fucking horrible. But yeah, that's just fucking annoying, dude. Like, especially now that it's, like, even less favorable compared to No Pause Storage because, well, it has, okay, NMG got, like, a buff overall because now BBBH Backwards is back in the run because of Rock Slide. But now the early game is even worse. Because, like, you're not just doing exactly what you've already done, but you're doing it then again. You're doing it 2 additional times, not even 1 additional time. And this is with Ring in between, so, like, let's say, right, like, you can't get a run going for ages. You finally get a run going, first sandwich out of bounds done. 3k done, you know, blah, blah, but then you need to prioritize the token deaths because of RNG, so then you have to push sandwich driving to fucking... like, after actually, no, you can't even do it after, you have to do it after fucking Weenie! Bro, you have to do it after Weenie. But then, obviously, like, well, then you want to prioritize fucking, Rubber-Dub Skip, because it's Rubber-Dub Skip. So you're doing it basically as late as possible, and you're dreading it, but it's like, okay, you get the second sandwich out of bounds, that's fantastic, right? And then you do Ring, and it takes, like, 3 goddamn minutes. And again, I'm gonna say this again, that there is time to save and lose on Ring. Like, my Ring, compared to somebody with, like, well, you wouldn't do ring and no pole storage, but let's just say for the sake of this argument that you do, just to better visualize the kind of what I'm talking about, to better grasp it. Okay, so I have a 59, imagine somebody has a 115 and we're both doing sandwich ring. I'm gonna save, probably 4 fucking seconds on them, assuming we're on the same version. I'm probably saving 3 or 4 seconds on them. But you know what I mean? Still not great. It's still worse to do a ring than to not do the ring at all, is the issue. So then, again, you were getting cock-blocked by, no cheese depression sandwich driving, and you get all the way, you get to ring, and then you get through it, okay, whatever. All I need to do now is lock in, get it for Macho, and then we're good. No, you just fucking miss it. Back to no cheese, Kek W in the chat. Kek W in the fucking chat. What's the fucking point? What was the point of any of this? And it's like, yeah, you could say that about anything. It's like, oh, I couldn't get a run going. My run died to, rock slide skip. Oh, back to no cheese. But that's different. Okay, here's the thing, right? It feels significantly less toxic to lose a run to a unique trick compared to a trick that you already did earlier in the run and executed just fine. It is just inherently more annoying and toxic and shitty. It doesn't feel good to, do the thing, get it, go back to the thing to do it again, and then you miss it. That obviously doesn't feel good. But yeah, and combat's out. That's not, a huge deal, but, obviously, that was a skill thing. Had some RNG, so I'm not really sad to lose it. Okay, well, I can't say we're never gonna get rid of fucking Sandwich, Ring of Macho and NMG in time, but, it's not looking... I couldn't even, it'd have to be something either unimaginable right now, or it'd have to be one of those bowl storage insta-skip effects that seems to not fucking exist by the looks of it. I'll keep looking, but yeah, it's not... Oh, wait, no, it's NMG, so you can't do bowl storage. Okay, yeah, that shit's you have to do something unimaginable. Anyway, I like playing Sponge Bowl. So, yeah, there's that, playing Sponge Bowl. Okay, thumbs up from me. But again, guess time is fucking toxic when you know... okay, you do guess, and then you do guess time, but guess time is good because it's hard and it's short. And it has nothing to do with Guess 1. It's a completely different fucking objective. So time is good. Macho is just overkill, especially because it's fucking ring in between as well. It's bro, chill. Chill for the love of God. Because you lose, so much fucking time to missing those stupid jumps as well. And if you're not doing the jumps, then you're just doing nothing. and that's the other issue with Sandwich Drive, is even if you're not doing a trick there, well, then you're just doing basically not very much. For 3 minutes. So, all in all, the only thing that the NMG has that I prefer over no pole storage, again, is the late game pacing, playing Sponge Bowl, and BBBH backwards. BBBH backwards is fucking sick. Doing the level backwards, voice crack, doing it backwards, and we see a part of the level that we normally don't get to see, and then you just cheese throwing fruit. You don't even need to worry about disco skip. Fast corkscrew late game, because that trick is actually fucking consistent, moving it to late game doesn't feel toxic, but it makes you nervous, it adds... adds some tension, and it is nice to finally remove... My cat is meowing at me. Shut up, Brev, I'm recording a video, Brev. I'll let you out in a second, Brev. Hold on, let me finish my thought. What was I saying? Oh yeah, if we have to have, all that sandwich driving in the early game, it is good to move BBBH, over, 3 minutes of it to, later in the run, because then it improves the pacing of the early game, which is nice. It makes the sandwich driving not as bad, technically. Even though you're still doing it roughly at the same point, because you have to do weenie beforehand instead, even though you're doing it at roughly the same point in the run, it just feels... the early game feels less bloated now, which is great. Yeah, I'm very happy to see BBBH backwards back in the run. Made all tokens even less... respectable than it already was, but to me. We'll get to all tokens in a minute. But yeah, so... But even then, like, I like playing Spongeball, but it still has that annoying thing where, like, you do the fan jump correctly, and then the game says, no, you actually didn't do it correctly, even though you aim for the same fucking spot every single time. Where you aim to the right side of the fan, and sometimes it works, but like, it works just enough to where it's like... You're not gonna do, like, a whole fucking 10-hour investigation on why it sometimes doesn't work. It's like, oh, it's because we're going 1 pixel too far to the left, right? It's just like, it works just enough. And it's like, bruh. But yeah, like, playing Spongeball is fucking sick. Like, it is actually very difficult. And even if you're, like, decent at getting the fan jump, it's so easy to lose, like, 2 to 4 seconds compared to, like, the fast cycle. It's crazy. Like, how easy it is to do that. There's just a lot of, no, it's just like a short task that's just hard and cool. So I really like it. I wish it was in no pause storage, dude. I wish it was there. Well, it can't really replace anything, but you know what I mean. If it was there instead of, like, Weenie it, then that'd be fucking awesome. But yeah, BBBH backwards is sick, but I just don't think it's worth doing 3 extra sandwich driving tokens for that, and, like, all the guitars and everything. I just don't think it's worth it. Even though, like, I respect NMG. Like, for the record, I'm not being like, no pause storage is objectively better. Like, even if that were the case, we still need NMG. For as long as ball storage is not a fucking thing on GameCube and PS... Well, it is a thing on PS2, but I mean Mindy Skip. As long as there was no, like, easy, fast Mindy Skip thing to do on GameCube and PS2, mostly GameCube, we shouldn't even consider... We shouldn't even consider moving, NMG, like, off of main or whatever, you know? Anyway, I gotta let my cat out to be right back, bruv. I have returned. I don't know why I clicked resume, though. Alright, so, what's next? Any percent. Okay, so here's the thing, right? Like, nobody likes Xbox at any percent. Do I really need to go over this? Like, really? Do I need to? I don't think I need to, right? And then, like GameCube and PS, like, it's hard. It is, like, difficult. But it is still, like, the same group of tokens repeatedly, and, like... And it is, like, a much shorter length than I would like. But then also, it's on GameCube, so you could infinite load, and even then, the loads are just really fucking bad anyway, and, like... GameCube can choke loads, and then, like... On Dolphin, it kind of sucks to, like, virtually eject memory card. But then, like, I don't have an NTSC disc on an actual... And even then, a Wii is less likely to have, like, consistent loads, because then you're using a disk drive. Like... I don't... In my personal opinion... The best category of this game cannot be on GameCube, because GameCube is abysmal. Like, it kind of is that simple for me, but even if, like, the Xbox pause storage worked exactly like the GameCube one, even, you know, memory cards and all, it just worked exactly the same, well, then I would need a fat-ass Xbox on my desk, but, I mean, regardless of that, too fucking short and just kind of a bit too repetitive. It is hard. I need to emphasize that it is a very difficult category. This is, the GameCube one. But I don't... Yeah. Anyway, 100%. So, 100% does have some, like, novel things to it. To be fair. The extras do add a decent amount of variety. Again, like I said earlier, it can break up some sliding and driving stuff for sure. And, okay, here's the thing, right? 100% is just, like, allowed to be kind of slow and have, like, bad parts because it's 100%. There's just an inherent novelty to any percent, cheap percent, and 100% in video games. There's just, like, this inherent novelty where they're kind of just, like, allowed... Well, a lot of games have, like, shitty any percents. I'm not really calling movie any percent shitty, but I just mean, like, there's a lot of games with, like, just genuinely fucking, like, just bad NPS that are, like, 5 minutes long because they do, like, arbitrary code execution shit. There aren't that many games where, like, they're, like, broken good speed games, but then also, like, you know, any percent the fastest way to beat the game is, like, not so broken that it's beaten in 2 milliseconds, doing the same exact thing over and over again, or arbitrary code execution, that kind of thing. But 100%, like, the good thing about Hundo is that in most games, Hundo is long. I mean, you can, and which means then that it's unlikely to get so fucked that it's like, oh my god, you barely play the game, it's so unfun, you know, that kind of thing. I will say that, obviously, like, Hundo is not, like... Again, like, this category, like, actually has a major issue with, like, the sliding and driving. Not as bad as in... Well, it is as, like, worse than in, like, NMG, but what I mean is that because the category is longer, like, you can treat it more as, like, an endurance test. Like, there is so much skill that goes into being good and consistent at this category. Like, this is the hardest category in the game, and the length is absurd. And it's really hard to play, like, consistently in this category. Like, I have, first place, and Sam has second place in Hundo, where's Hundo? So there is an 8-minute difference between us, right? But, like, in that community Hundo race from a while ago, I got a fucking, a genuinely abysmal run. One of the worst runs I've ever fucking done in my goddamn life. And Sam didn't get second, and I won, but even then I beat second by, like, I think it was, like, over 10 minutes. And that's what I mean, like, there is so, like, Sam has not really touched 100% very much, and I feel like that was shown in the fact that he didn't get second. Like, a huge, but, like, for example, right? Even if you were to get, like, world record in no pause storage, that doesn't, like, automatically mean you're, like, the best player at the game, because, like, being good at, you know, a much longer category is its own skill. And, because, you know, for, like, I keep saying for example, the shorter a category is, the less time you need to, like, lock in for. Which means that you can get fluke runs like my 1 flat 26 and my 1 flat 49. It is much harder to get, like, a fluke run in something like Hundo. It is, like, a proper consistency test, endurance test, and skill test. Because, you know, because even an inconsistent player, you know, if they do 5 quintillion runs, one of them has to be fucking really good, right? But that's far less likely in Hundo. So I like that it kind of challenges you in a way that no pause storage... Like, it's not that no pause storage doesn't challenge you in that regard literally whatsoever. You know, if it were that shrimple, then people wouldn't be losing 5 hours to Now That We're Men and SCDA. But it's more that, like, this category is far more likely to just... It is so taxing. Like, I remember when I was, like, first getting into Hundo, and I found it, like, really difficult to get into, because it was just so fucking grueling. But here's, like... The world record when I started playing Hundo was 2:38. And now, because of Rockslide, it can realistically go down to 2:18. It's gone down by, like... Well, it will have gone down by, like, 20 minutes or something. And... Actually, wait, no. I think... No, 2:38 was my first record, I think. I think the record at the time might have been 2:42. It might have been 2:42. Yeah, it was. It was 2:42. Yeah, it's fucking crazy. I'm getting a little sidetracked, I just realized. But I'm talking about, like, why these categories are good in their own right, and then I'm like, well, I still like no pause storage more. While I do appreciate, like, what this category does, I mean, Mag is just fucking sick. And Hundo has, and all tokens have the, well, actually, no, Hundo has the best chance for a ball storage token skip. Because of plain sponge costume. I mean, even if it never happens, like, at least, you know, we have more potential. I mean, you know, PS2, hypothetically. But yeah. It has Sunday 2, which is the hardest split in the entire game. Very, very difficult. And the repetition just isn't, like, as bad in a category that's this long and has the novelty of 100%. The extras add some nice variety to the run. Blah, 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 blah. The problem, well, I wouldn't have called these my favorite category anyway, like this and all tokens, but Rockslide Skip arguably made these two categories worse. Because now you basically have to do all of Rockslide before Now That We're Men. And that's obviously fucking AIDS. Like, I shouldn't have to tell you why doing the entirety of Rockslide before Now That We're Men and SCDA is bad. But even if we still want to argue, like, okay, well, that's not going to matter for the runs that actually PB. You know, it doesn't matter if you're doing Rockslide earlier. Like, okay, yeah, okay, true. The repetition is still, like, a bit much. And you, like, have to do, like, to be optimal, you have to do Now That We're Men combat really late, which is, like bro. And Relative Skip, which, like, I do like that. But, like, at its worst, especially when you fake ring as well, actually, it's just like, ugh. Well, the Sunday 2 has been pushed back to later as well because of fucking Rockslide. What else? It is just too, well, like, it is too long, and it's too repetitive. So if we can get some token skips in, then maybe it'll have some potential, you know, like a Rockslide ring skip. And then Rockslide Macho will be different from the other tasks in Hundo, because you have to, in Hundo now, you have to get all of the extras on in specifically the first task. And then Time you cheese, Ring you could skip, hypothetically, and then Macho you could either skip, hypothetically, or you could, like, then you just treat it like a time challenge, so, like, you know, it would be, like, more unique, you know, because then that's, and then Guest 2 is still, like, whatever, because it's only 5 minutes long. Sunday's kind of allowed to be, well, I would love a Sunday ring skip, fucking hell, that'd be elite. Yeah, I don't know, like, it would need quite a few changes for me to consider it the best category, or no pause storage would have to get absolutely fucked somehow. Like a mouse. And then, if you know me, you know that I fucking do not like all tokens. It is pretty strictly, like, okay, I can't say that it's objectively worse, but, like, dude. Like, No Major Glitches has way more of a reason to exist than all tokens, and I don't want this to be, I don't want this to just be a copy-paste of my, what's it called? I don't want this to be a copy-paste of my all tokens video. But, like, on why I think all tokens should be on extensions. But genuinely now, it has, like, it has nothing unique to it, especially now that BBBH Backwards is, like, fully back in NMG. Like, what does all tokens, like, actually have? It literally is just Hundo without the fucking extras, that's all it is. Hundo without the extras. But, like, I'm pretty sure the difference in my sob between the two categories is, like, fucking, like, 7 minutes. And keep in mind that, like, nearly a minute of that is just gonna be BBBH Backwards. They're so long, it is such a long category regardless. But then the early game is worse, because it has fucking, it has Rubber Dub too early, so the early game has worse pacing. Even Rockslide is a little worse, because then it doesn't have the variety, the slight variety with the extras. I'm really, it's hard to even remember fucking differences between the two, because, like, anything that's different in AT almost always applies to NMG, and even in the instances where it doesn't, it's literally just like, oh, the last segment before Neptune is Knucklehead 2. That's bad, because then you have to do, like, well, I mean, because Knucklehead isn't really that special, so it's just cooler. It's just cooler to do Weenie Last. It's like a little tougher to do optimally than fucking Knucklehead. That's so expected, you know? Like, and even then, like, most categories do Knucklehead just before Neptune. So it's just nice that Hundo, like, you know, changes things a bit. But then it's like, and then AT has the toxicity of doing Guest 2 and Sunday 2 right next to each other. Like, and, dude, it has nothing going for it. I cannot stress enough, it has nothing going for it. It's literally Hundo, but I don't want to do Toast early. Like, that is literally it. Like, Hundo, I don't want to do Toast early. Or I can't be asked to learn the extras. That's all it fucking is, dude. That's all it is. And it's like, no, we must have it on main because it's the game's definition of 100%, despite the fact that, like, we literally don't fucking care what the definition of the game's 100%, the game's definition of 100% is, because we don't call it 100%, we call it all tokens. The fact that, like, we are disregarding what the game thinks in the first place means that we don't respect its definition. So if we don't respect its definition, why are we respecting its definition? Why are we respecting its existence by keeping it on main with the reasoning that it's 100%? Like, fuck all tokens, genuinely. And nobody plays the fucking category, and you can say that for some other ones, but, like, nobody plays the category. Like, Sam has, like, almost no time in the category, Oofster has, like, no time in the category, like, I think Latte's played it once or twice, Cornbread's played it a few times, TDS hasn't done in 6 years, 4 years, 8 years, 6 years, 5 years, 4 years, 2 years. Like, nobody... I think what's going on is that, like, nobody has played it enough alongside playing a Hundo and NMG enough to be like, oh, this category really has nothing going for it. Like, they just hear it and they're just like, nah. There's always, you know, every category, there's always somebody who has, like, what am I trying to say? There's always a category for someone. But, like, I genuinely believe that it is, like, a lack of experience in this category that leads people to believe that it is more unique than it actually is. Like, the only reason why I would not want to move all tokens to extensions, other than it being just very different from the other categories that are in extensions, is because then the boards would look slightly empty without it, and that is it. Like, that is, like, the only reason why I wouldn't want this in extensions. So yeah, if, in my opinion, all tokens is inferior to 100% in nearly every single conceivable way, and Hundo is not my favorite category, then yeah, it's pretty obvious to tell how all tokens is not my favorite fucking category. As for all extras, it actually has a decent amount going on. The extras are more different in AE than they are in Hundo compared to AT, because, you know, because in all extras, there is nowhere near as much backtracking, which means that a lot of the time you do need to grab the extras in one go, which then changes how you grab the extras. Usually, well, pretty much always, well, not always, but I mean, like, if there is any difference, it's pretty much always slower to grab them in all extras, which gives them, you know, more variety. There is, like, a 10-minute difference with the extras in all extras, whereas in Hundo, it's, like, 6 minutes, or 8 minutes minus 1 minute. I'm not gonna say it. I like the extras. The problem is that, well, this is one of my favorite categories, but there are toxic elements to it that don't really exist in no pause storage. Of course, you can do rock slide skip in this category too. The problem is that now, because of that, you get rid of SD102. Basically, the TLDR is that in the sole sandwich driving that you don't do out of bounds, which makes it just, you know, because keep in mind it's longer than normal as well because of because you need to grab the extras, but then you also don't really do much, so it's kind of boring. You know, it makes it take a lot longer to get the 3K. Additionally, there's like an extra in Rubber Dub they need to get, and it's literally like a 1-minute detour for doing almost nothing. You avoid like a trigger, and then that is a checkpoint trigger, and that's all you do. It's literally like a minute of doing like hardly anything. What else? Oh, yeah, the Now That We're Men bowl extra at the beginning is fucking cringe. There were just times where it just absolutely will not work. And again, it exists in Hundo, but because that category is so much longer, it's automatically not as bad if you miss the bowl shot there like once. Well, yeah, again, just like, oh yeah, the toast extra is a little different in all extras in a way that's genuinely fucking annoying because there is an actual like RNG element to it. Where art thou? Like, what the fuck? I was hovering over Now That We're Men. What was wrong with me, bro? But yeah, you take a different... Oh yeah, and Hundo has like a really sick out-of-bounds thing here. I was actually showing it earlier. Not on purpose, but, you know, makes it useful for... Because if you haven't seen it before, well, you should have been paying attention earlier, brev. In all extras, it's not fast, unfortunately. Instead, you do... this... And the spinners have had a long time to move around, so I didn't get RNG'd, but it is quite easy to get RNG'd here, and it's really fucking annoying. It's so AIDS, bro. It's, like, it and Early Powers All Extras are, like, the only ones that have that toxic shit. Like a boss. But yeah, I don't know why I said like a boss, I just felt like a brev. Some extras... also just don't add much, but like the detours, you still do the detours is a little cringe. But in Hundo, again, it's okay because length and novelty. Gesk kind of sucks. Well, like, because there is a trick that you could do, but not only do you need to do a 1-frame jump, you also need like a really good angle, and it's like absolutely fucking abysmal. It's just like, just makes the run, like, nobody does it, it's that bad. Even though it hypothetically saves a lot, theoretically would save a lot. Dude, fucking hell. I'm just trying to show the extra. You need to get this extra, like, then, because if you don't, then you have to go, because you don't come back here. Well, even if you did, you know, gas jumps. You don't do gas jumps, and that's another thing I don't like about this category, you don't do gas jumps. Because it is faster to get Plank Sponge Ball, and I do like Plank Sponge Ball, but I like Guess Time more. Is because there's an extra, like, right at the end of Plank, pretty much. And that's another thing, Plank fucking sucks in this category. It's so long and difficult in all extras. Like, this category has the toughest Plank, but it also has the longest Plank. And it sucks. Fucking 8-minute segment, 8-minute level. Like, the beginning of it is, like, the same. But then... like, you go to Area 2 just to do Sponge Ball, and then you have an opportunity to 1-frame, to 2-frame the token, but you're not 2-framing that fucking shit this late in the run, you're 1-framing it, which is cancer, because it's one of the worst token frames in the game, because you're descending from fucking Steam. So you, like, almost always lose time off the gold here. And then you have to go back and then do a different clip, which is, and then you have to do this fucking shit, which sucks. And I fucked it up there. And then you do the ball boost, and like that shit's cool in itself. Oh, but then there's another, okay. This is cool, and it's actually unique to this category. There isn't a single other category that has this. Well, I think in the all extras IL, like, you know, but I'm not really counting that. I'm not counting ILs, this is the only time you do this. This is fucking cool, bruv. I like it. But, like, here's the thing, right? There is, and we haven't, played all extras since this got figured out, so we don't know. Basically, you do Mindy skip. Wait, is that true, actually? No, I remember, like, the game would sometimes crash at the end of Knucklehead. But I don't remember why. I don't remember why it would sometimes crash at the end of Knucklehead. Well, it must be to do with, like, how we backtrack before, but I don't remember if we would, like, I don't know if I, like, changed the route before. But it must have been to do with, like, either being on a multiple of 4 loads or not being on a multiple of 4 loads, like, on, you know, after successfully getting Mindy Skip. Like, and then you load again. It must be something to do with that, but also the level that you came from, but, like, I genuinely don't fucking know if I'm doing the same order as that, and even then, I don't know if it's multiple of 4 or not. So, especially back then, like, having to account, like, not only did it feel like there was a random chance for Mindy Skip to fail, then there was also the random chance it would crash at the end of Knucklehead. I think EPAE might have the same issue as well, but it's hard to remember because that game's route, the category's route is a bit different. Yeah, I don't know, dude, I don't know. But even then, having to account for 2 ball storage things is annoying. So yeah, it's basically just that, like, a couple segments, like, suck compared to no pause storage, and the pacing is slightly fucked. That's pretty much it. I would say that this category might be the best to watch. Dude, I wish Guess Time was still in the run. Like, Guess Time to replace, like... I don't know, nothing's really that slow. Yeah, you can't really replace anything. Oh well. But yeah, it isn't very far behind no pause storage. It definitely has things that's better than no pause storage. Just had, but a couple of its toxic things are just like a little much. There is also a thing with Sunday where it's like if you miss an extra, then the backup sucks, but you shouldn't really miss it anyway. So that's it for main, and then for extensions, I already went over Frogfish and Cheapercent. NLR, not only do I not know much about it, but also the fastest version is GameCube, so moving on. Early powers, okay, I like early powers. You are naturally on 4th load. You're on pace for 4th load for Mindy Skip from boot. Isn't that fucking awesome? The other thing is that this clip is, well, like, okay, lag clip no cheese is genuinely so fucking toxic. And it's not even the clips, it's the token frame. Like, well, I assume I got it this run, because I remember this run being good. I cannot stress enough, like, how bad that actually is. Like, you really don't understand pain until you get good enough of the category, you get optimized enough to where, like, you need to get it or else you're resetting. And if, you know, and you're gonna reset if you lose more than, like, 4 seconds attempting it. Even if you do eventually get it, if you're, you know, if you're only saving, like, half the time, it's not worth it. Especially for the first minute. As far as I'm concerned, any category that has that clip also can't be the best. You have no idea, you genuinely do not have any idea how many of my resets are just to that. And then the pacing is kind of whack because the sliding and driving stuff doesn't really change. 3K is cool. I would appreciate the lag clips more if, you know, Kid Named No Cheese didn't have its own clip, but yeah, like, you know, these are cool. Could be a little annoying sometimes, but yeah, it even has its own exclusive one, by here. I like this clip, it's cool. But yeah, there isn't much to say, like, a lot of the category's identity, like, it becomes very similar to other categories, after Now That We're Men. Like, well, this is a little more unique now, because you obviously aren't gonna do Rock Slide Skip in a category where you just get every N-level token and that's it. So you actually do the super jump here and take a different route, so at least, you know, that's different. I like this clip, but it does have something about it that, like, actually sucks. Oh, yeah, Fucking lobster clip, ugh. Anyway. So, okay, this clip is cool. But if your spin timing is bad, like, relative to your height, If you aren't spinning as you touch the ground, you'll lose guitar glide state and you'll need to get it back, but I think recovering it from there was like a pretty bad. Pretty AIDS. And then lobster clip fucking sucks, it's so cringe. It doesn't even save very much, but because I have a lack of manlies... Well, wait, well, yeah, I could have upgraded it there, but then it would cause issues for upgraded slam and throw in SCDA. Well, I don't know if I upgrade slam. I mean, surely I must do, right? Yeah. I think it's throw that I... Yeah, no, because of SCDA, like, you want upgraded throw. But yeah, Early Powers doesn't have too much of its own unique identity from SCDA onwards. There is, like, a door clip for Area 2, but it's really bad. I'm trying to... Oh yeah, you don't even do TNT Circ, you do the equivalent of Circulate, which, to be fair, then would be a unique thing, technically, because Circulate kind of sucks now. Yeah, because, dude, I barely have enough as well, fucking hell. Yeah, just, like, the pacing is, like, really weird, essentially. And the no cheese thing is incredibly AIDS, and its engine naturally on 4th load, and categories a bit short for my liking. Make the no cheese token frame, like, actually good, and then this category is kind of cool. But oh yeah, and get rid of the fucking lobster clip, and then this category is cool. Early task unlocks. ETU got a lot better because of Rock Slide Skip. You remove both sandwich driving tokens, and keep in mind you were doing those in early game. You were straight up doing those in early game. Like, you could see my splits. Well, you know, they're named the wrong things, but... yeah, you literally do, you have 4 tokens here, and then you do sandwich driving here, so you get 5, you load into 3k to unlock Bash, and then you go back, and optimally, you go back to immediately do SD102. And now that's gone. And because of the manlies that you get from Rockslide, it is actually... Because a big thing about ETU was that you had to, like, grind the SCDA stack. It is tight, but it is entirely possible to only have to hit that stack once, which means no dying, you just get it. And those two things greatly improve the pacing of the category and remove, like, literally the 2 worst parts of it. The 2 worst parts of the category. That's not fucking true, I just remembered something. But 2 of the 3 worst things are gone. And the ability to warp anywhere allows for a lot of routing options, that's cool. This is obviously going to be very unique compared to, other than NLR, like every category in the fucking game. Oh, and APL, I guess. But it's a very unique category, for sure. So, what's the issue, right? What's the issue, bub? With ETU, bub? Dennis 2. It is almost exclusively Dennis 2. I was thinking, I'm not gonna do it, I don't think, but I was thinking of making an entire video dedicated to why unupgraded bald Dennis 2 is the worst token in the entire game, because it is the worst token in the entire game, for speedrunning purposes, it absolutely is. But... there's kind of no point, I already ranted about it a lot in my ETU video, and I can just rant about it here instead. This is so fucking unbelievably fucking bad. This on its own literally ruins the fucking category, like actually ruins it, I'm not using that word lightly. The category is infinitely worse than it otherwise would be. And it might not be initially obvious, like, why that's the case, especially because, that seemed like a good Dennis, right? I even got the 1 frame. 3 seconds off the gold. It didn't even look like I did anything wrong, but it was 3 seconds off the fucking gold. I haven't done this in so long that it's hard to remember everything, but, like, when I was practicing this recently, because I want to get back into ETU, when I was practicing it recently, and I kept hitting Dennis, and his fucking health was, like, not going down at all, even after hitting him, like, 4 fucking times. I was like, oh, yeah, that's why. That's why he's the worst fucking token in the history of mankind. Like, I don't like, here, this ball shot is very important. You need to, like, time it properly. Because I did it, if I, did that shot sooner, it could have done more damage to him, which is where I lost the 3 seconds. And then this fucking slammer causes so many issues, so you have to, like, back up. And keep in mind, normally you used to, like, the massive, like, shockwave of upgraded ball. You don't get that here, so, and it's sloped and curved. So, like, yeah, it hits him. But like, it could have so easily, if my angle was even the teeniest bit off, it could have so easily gone left or right. And then there's another fucking slammer. And if you're accidentally too far forward, that slammer goes to hit you. I don't have it in me to rant about this for 10 hours, but like... And it's hard to, like, emphasize how bad this is when this attempt was way above average. But like, this fucking segment, it is just before Guess 2, right? It is just before Guess 2, you've already done Guess 1, and there's a fucking 1 frame immediately after getting, like, when you actually nail this, and it takes so long to even get here anyway, because the early game still fucking sucks. Like, no cheese and depression are fine, especially because now we move Creek to later in the run, so now, like, you just get to 3K immediately, but 3K is pretty reset heavy, because at this level, if you miss any 2 frames on, like, Plank and Dennis, you're gonna reset, right? So, yeah, so, like, the route now is that you do, floating block, then sponge ball, unlock bash, do bounceless, do steamed token death, 2 frame the bounce token when there's a bunch of dust in the way, by the way, so it's hard to see. Do the token death for steamed, which it's unique in this because you're doing steamed forwards. I have hiccups. And, so that's kind of AIDS, because it's a little easy to fuck up. And then afterwards, to avoid cacti glitch, you have to do, like, a unique out of bounds here at the end. And if your jump spacing is bad, you just fucking die. And then, even if you get it successfully, you have a bad camera angle, for this. Because the last button that you want to bash is this one. And you want to, like, look at it head on, but then when you skip the cutscene then and you spawn here, the camera will be faced away from the fucking token, which is AIDS. So then, ideally then, you actually turn the camera away from SpongeBob, or so that SpongeBob's directly facing it, but still walking down this way. So, and then you have to, like, guess where the thing is. And then you have to 2-frame the end level token, and it fucking sucks. And then you do rubber dub, and then you do rubber dub again immediately after, which sucks. And then you do fucking fast corkscrew. And then, dude... And then disco ledge grab skip is, like, weirdly hard when you're doing it from the warp. And you don't have time to, like, set it up. Oh my god, and then Quick Chris is in the run. Quick Chris is in the run. And it pisses me off that it's in the run. It just saves time. But because you're bash boosting from this area, your position gets updated really weirdly, and half the time I die for what genuinely feels like no reason. Like, I've tried. Like, jumping and landing in the same spots, like, and I swear to god, dude, it must be, like, hyper-precise, because I can't fucking fully figure it out. And then, of course, you 2-frame the monster token, and then, oh yeah, and then you do bungee ball, but because you don't have upgraded ball, it's way harder. And then you have this monstrosity. We do the worst fucking token ever. And you do guest jumps, and then you might get fake ringed, and then you do guest jumps again. Double guest jumps in a 40-minute long category. Like, what the fuck? And then you do SCDA stuff, which sucks dick. Especially because the cycle is, like, abnormal from what I'm used to. Like, it's like a worse cycle than normal. It's not as good. And then, again, like, the Dennis frames, like, you really, if you miss them, you really fucking feel it in this category. I forgot to even go over Plank. Plank is abysmal. I'll get to Plank in a minute. And then you do Rock Slide Skip, like, basically as late as possible, because the way that the route works, the only thing you do after Rock Slide is ice skating, with a different angle than what you normally do, so it's just off compared to other categories, because of course it is. And Neptune. So you're doing it basically as late as fucking possible, because that is the optimal route. The only way you can improve that is if you do Dennis 1 after Rock Slide, because then that's the actual most optimal route. But then you have to get SCDA end level token frame to save 2 scrolls, and if you don't, then your route's fucked. So obviously you're not doing that, like that late in the run for 2 scrolls, you're not doing, even with a buffer, that's not worth it. Especially because you don't normally 2-frame that fucking token. So you don't want to do that, you don't want to fucking do it anyway. I'm like out of breath a bit low energy. Complaining's hard work, bro. Again, this category is so much better than it used to be, but it still has all that shit and Plank. And Plank is fucking evil. Not only does it have the sponge ball issue, it's not as bad here because we do it earlier in the run now, but it also has Bounce. And Bounce is fucking horrendous. This 2-frame is horrendous. How can it be horrendous? Well, you can't buffer it, because the fucking platform it's on is so tiny. You would only be able to buffer it if you were standing on, like, the literal very edge of the platform, but you can't see the fucking platform. So how are you supposed to know if you're standing on the very edge? If you try to stand on the edge, you'll probably just miss the entire platform and start falling to your death. So you can't do that. You can't buffer this. But then it's also like, there's no fucking visual cue. Look at it. Literally look at this. Like, I tried to 2-frame it, and I couldn't. This 2-frame, it is probably the worst one in the game. And then the second worst one is probably the no-cheese one. And then the third worst one is the plank one. And, well, the no-cheese one is not in this run, but... it's in fucking... They're all in APL. No, not APL. I swear there's one category that does all of them. Well... No, I don't think so. Yeah, I don't think so. That's crazy. I'm surprised by that. Yeah. I don't know, like, if I haven't sold it to you, like, the toxicity... Oh, and if you're not willing to do, like, a bunch of buffers and stuff, then you're gonna have to do, like, a completely different route that's slower, like a boss. So it's, like, very hard to, like, get into and learn and everything anyway. And even then, it's still possible if you miss, like, one fucking stack, it's still possible to not have enough tokens. Not enough manlies to upgrades, and then the run's dead. You know, if all of this were in a longer category, it'd be a bit different, but... yeah. Oh yeah, and apparently I forgot to go over early powers all extras. I don't mind it, like, it's not bad, but, like... Like, it even has some, like, pretty unique stuff, but the pacing is all sorts of fucked. And the extras are, like, they're just adding even more time to the timer than normal. It's a good category, but... it's so arbitrary. It's so arbitrary, so niche. Just kind of, like, weird. I think you have to grind in now, though, man, for fucking manlies. Like, that's so sad. All-will tokens is unbelievably toxic. I would show it, but I was wearing cat ears during the run, so I don't want to. But, you know, it has the no-cheese thing, it has, like, this really annoying steamed 3K lag clip. It doesn't have the token deaths, luckily. But then it also, like, it still has, like, the bounce 2-frame. It has the guitar challenges, which sucks for a category this short. It has plank manly grinding. The category's too short for my liking. You have to jump up the literal entire BBBH slide, which is fucking stupid. It is an insanely arbitrary category. Like... well, yeah, that's the thing, like, there was a world record holder for the category who, like, accidentally broke the rules, which is fucking unheard of. That somebody could be, like, skilled enough to get the world record, but not be skilled enough to, like... or rather, like... yeah, basically, they just didn't know, because the rules are so complicated. losing the will to live talking, like, because this is meant to, like, complement these like, AWT is very skillful, it has a lot of skill. Oh yeah, it has unupgraded Bold Dentist too, and it has Lobster Clip. Never mind, it's a bad category, it's fucking, because, like, if you do buffers, then you need to play so close to sub that you can't make any mistakes and it's just fucking toxic as shit. Or you don't do buffers, and then all the 2 frames are toxic as shit. And it's bad. And it's still too short, and doing guitar challenges in a category that short is just like, bruh. Yeah. APL. I invented APL, so I have a little bit of a soft spot for it. I like that, you can warp literally anywhere. Obviously, like, some stuff's just gonna be more optimal to do than other stuff. And some things are basically just gonna be like, oh yeah, this is basically like an IL. But, oh yeah, and this has, like, the no cheese, but, you know, it doesn't have Lobster Clip. It doesn't have, like, double guest jumps, you know, fake ring bullshit. It doesn't have counting loads. It doesn't have... You know, it does have the combat arenas, but they are a lot more consistent than they used to be. I think the issue is just that, like, getting into it is hard because of the... And also doing the guitars in the category this long is still a bit, you know... If ETU didn't have, unupgraded Bold Dentist 2, I would call it a better category. But it has unupgraded Bold Dentist 2, so I prefer APL. APL isn't, like, too special, in its own right. It's just... I don't know, it's, like, I can't exactly glaze it. It's similar to other categories, but it still has, like, toxic elements, like doing the combat arenas early. And some 2 frames, like, genuinely fucking terrible. But I like it. I like that it has a lot of variety because of how many of the tokens you get. I like that you don't have to even think about manlies. You do get a little bit of a break with the guitar challenges. It just doesn't have that much of its own identity because it's weirdly similar to... It's like a mix of APL and ETU. I mean, ETU and fucking... What, dude? AWT. And it removes some toxic elements of them, still has some remaining. Yeah, there isn't really anything else to say. So then we finally get to no pause storage, right? And I think no pause storage has, like, a really good balance of shit, because it doesn't have these, like, overly long segments. You know, like in, you know, Hundo, Old Tokens, NMG. The early game is paced completely fine, the mid game is paced well, and the late game is paced decently. It doesn't have too little going on, it doesn't have too much going on. It has this, like, healthy balance. And that's a big thing. Is that even though it's a very skillful category still, again, the shorter the category, the closer you need to play the sub. Like, it's a skillful category, but it isn't, like... This category has, like, basically no real repetition. Because, Rub-a-Dub 2, you can't even complain because... You know, Rub-a-Dub Skip is good, and the segment is so short, and the 1 frames, like, make it a bit different anyway. And then as for, what's it called? As for... Well, there's no ST-102. Like, there's no, like, proper sliding and driving backtracking where it actually feels like filler. There's no ring challenges. You still need to think about manlies a little bit, but, like, not in a toxic way, like in a lot of the extensions categories. The length is really fucking good. You know, you can still get a lot of attempts in 5 hours, but, like, I mean, in 5 hours you could complete 5 runs. That's pretty good, I would say. So it just strikes that balance without, like, having, you know, annoying, repetitive stuff. And there are things that are, like, inherently, like, not... You know, Spew Boost sucks, but that's in a lot of categories. Fast sandwich out of bounds sucks, but that's in a lot of categories, and here you only do it once. And the alternative is doing literally nothing at all, or doing it too much, so... It really comes down, like, a lot of the flaws I mentioned in those categories just simply don't exist. That's why I'm struggling to figure out what to say. Because it was me complaining about the weaknesses of other categories that don't exist in this category. This category has the least number of flaws out of all the categories on the leaderboard's main and extensions. Like, what are this category's flaws, right? Okay, like, you need an Xbox to play it. However, a lot of people, myself included, are in a position where we can still run it. And then it's like, Weenie is boring. That's the case for every category that has Weenie, and any category that doesn't have Weenie has its own issues. Like how Cheap Percent has, like, nothing going on. AWT is toxic as fuck. Early Powers, the early game is toxic as fuck. And has Lobster Clip. ETU, toxic as fuck, like a boss. Like, I would take Weenie over, like, doing any of that shit any day of the week. And then, like, Knucklehead is long and also kind of boring. Yeah, but, you know, to be fair, it's the segment after Plank and the segment before Neptune, so it's really not the end of the world, and a lot of categories have the same sort of issue. Well, okay, I will say, actually... I think No Pause Storage might arguably have the... Yeah, I think it has the worst Knucklehead 1. Obviously, there is no Knucklehead 2 and No Pause Storage, but I do think No Pause Storage has the worst Knucklehead 1, because the only other categories where you do... Oh, no, Early Powers has the worst because of the pacing. Yeah, but still. All Extras and EPAE have better Knuckleheads, because even though they still waste a bunch of time, like, doing Mindy Skip... in fact, they spend, they spend, like, more time setting it up and not executing, but, like, setting it up, because they gotta set it up in different levels compared to Plank. Like, they grab the extras at the end of the day, so it's more unique. Whereas, like... No Pause Storage Knucklehead is long, and it just, I don't know, just feels like you're not doing much, especially because Mindy Skip's been solved. But, I don't know, it's the second to last segment, it's kind of forgivable at that point. Oh, yeah, and No Pause, another thing I forgot to complain about in No Major Glitches is that, and this would also apply to, like, Hundo and Old Tokens as well, but, well, especially those ones. But in a more direct comparison with NMG, if you don't like a token like Plank Sponge Bowl or something in NMG, you basically just have to go fuck yourself because the alternatives are so slow. The alternatives are literally just like Weenie Time and like Rubber Dub Ring and Macho. That's like literally the alternatives. Well, now it'd be Depression Combat actually. If you can't do Plank Sponge Bowl or something, you do Depression Combat, which is, like, something. But if you also don't want to do, like, Rock Slide Skip, you know, you're new to the game, you just want to get a fucking run, then, yeah, like, there just really aren't many routing options for a category this long. And keep in mind, it's the most accessible category we have on main, and it's still not very accessible due to its length and lack of options. Whereas, like, this category, No Pause Storage just is literally just objectively easier to learn because you're doing less stuff. It's more straightforward, and there's more, well, if you don't like a token, then you have Sandwich Ring and Macho, and you have Guess Ring and Macho, and then Sandwich Ring and Macho, and if worst comes to worst, Weenie Time. Like, you have a lot more options, which is great for learning. And, yeah, it's just, like, an easier category to learn. And it has, like, a good variety without, like, repetition, like, annoying repetition. Like, removing Sandwich Time was the greatest thing that could have ever happened to this category. So, yeah, like, the worst things about this category are that, like, Weenie and Knucklehead are boring, and they're boring in every fucking category that they're in. It's just a problem that every fucking category has if they have those segments in them. And if they don't, then they have other massive glaring issues that are way worse. And then it's like what else? Like... it would be nice if no pause storage still had like a more unique identity in its, well, just throughout the whole run compared to other categories, because, you know, like extras categories and cheat categories tend to stand out more, whereas like no pause, like I said earlier, like it's very similar to Frogfish, which is also very similar to NMG. But that's like, well, like, I don't know, that's just kind of a problem with like the game in general, not like specifically. I mean, like, all these problems are, like, because of the game that I mentioned, but, like, I don't know, it's, like, because this has defaulted to the main category, it's more of a fault of other categories than no pause storage, if that makes sense. Because those categories are longer and have you do more stuff, so when the early games are identical to no pause storage or very similar to it, it feels less like no pause storage's fault because that's the one that's, like, skimming down the fat anyway. Whereas these categories that are supposed to have more variety don't have the variety in question in early game, so that's more, you know, the blame is more on those categories instead. Yeah, I don't know, like, there isn't much I can say. Like, well, the good thing about categories being similar is that then if a time save gets found, it's usually not for one category, it's usually for a bunch. Especially for, like, the non-extras stuff. Yeah, I don't know. There really isn't much else I can say. I feel like a lot of this is just, like, holy ramble. But this category just has the least number of flaws. Like when its biggest flaws, with a lot of other categories, I said, like, oh, they're a drag, they're fucking straight up toxic. You know, that kind of thing. And this doesn't have those issues at all, and its issues are literally, like, issues that most other categories have. Which, like, if the worst thing about the run is not, like, toxicity, length, accessibility, like, it's literally, like, 2 segments are boring, and one of them's, like, basically at the end of the run. It's not a non-issue, but it's just so much less of an issue than it could have been. And who knows, I mean, one day we may very well get a RTA viable weenie out of bounds, and then the weenie's no longer an issue. And maybe for Knucklehead, too, because there is stuff for ILs, this IL strats. Yeah, maybe one day. But we just don't know. We don't know. But if that happens, then the worst thing about... Like, assuming they're both, like, consistent. Like, Weenie and Knucklehead, like, they get strats, but they're both, like, actually... You grind them out for a few weeks, and then they're, like, good. You know, get them 80% of the time. Like, they're not toxic. They're just completely fine. Then the worst thing about the category is literally just gonna be, like... I don't know, like... Maybe even, like, Gesk. Like, Gesk 1? Because, like, Gesk 1 is, like, fine, but you still don't really do much in it. So it might be Gesk. Which, like, if the worst segment in the run is fucking Gesk, then we've done something right, so... Yeah, that's basically the video. I'm not trying to be like, oh my god, every category is bad except for no pause storage. Like, I was glazing some of the categories. It's just that, like, even though some of them have a leg up on no pause storage in terms of, like, variety or just genuinely really cool strats, or you may like a longer or shorter category. You might like that, you know, now that the main combat's in, like, APL, for example, you might just like that, I don't know. For me, perfect length, it has, like, the perfect scenario of, like, you don't generally need to worry about manlies, but you can't just, like, completely turn your brain off in regards to manlies, like, you still need to think about it a tiny bit, so it's not toxic. No repetition of tricks except for rub-it-up skip, but that's, like, the literal one time, and even then, it's, like, not in, like, an annoying way. Long enough to make, like, mistakes, but not so long that it's, like, annoying, or, like, grueling, or anything like that. It's still, like, a bit of a consistency test. As long as you have an Xbox, it's pretty easy to get into. It's good for beginners. Yeah. That's the video, I think. Thank you for watching, and goodbye.